Okay, hi everybody. I'm just going to show you now how to draw your clock design in 2D design. Now first off you'll need to open up Techsoft 2D design. In my case it is click on the window icon and then you're going to find STM, use the D&T and then 2D design. And you'll see if I just go back a little bit there, you see it comes up with a little licensing section. Now you can ignore that, you just click off to the left hand side and it'll disappear. Now the next thing to do is click on the circle tool, which is up at the top left, and then you're going to go across to the Gridlock tool. Now the Gridlock tool just means that anything that you do will lock to the grid, the little dots on the screen. Okay, so it's quite useful for drawing process. Now the next stage is to decide how big you want the circle to be. Now I'd recommend not doing it any bigger than a radius of 100 millimeters. Now radius, if you're not sure, is the distance from the center of a circle to the outside. So the overall diameter of the circle will then be 200 millimeters. So in the radius section, if you just type in 100 and then click OK. Now you'll see that because Gridlock's on, the central little cross there will jump to the dots and it'll just help you locate it in relation to one of the dots, which comes in useful for the next stage. Okay, now you're going to click on the line tool because we're going to locate where the numbers need to go. Click down and across to find the middle. So where the 12, the 6, the 3 and the 9 are going to be positioned. Then you're going to click on the ABC tool, which is the text tool, which is useful for doing the numbers. And then click on the page and type in 12. At this stage, if you want to change the font of the 12, you can click on settings and it will let you change the font to whatever style you want it to be. So I find it easier to click on the actual the top bit where it says name, and then it'll let you just use the arrow key on the keyboard just to scroll down to the one that you think is the best. Try not to choose one that's too thin, because if you want to cut out the numbers, then it won't work. It won't cut out very well. You want to choose one that's a bit thicker, a bit more block form. So you can see I've chosen. Just go up a little bit. I choose Arial rounded empty, just a simple font. Now, if I want to move the 12 into the correct position, I've clicked on the select tool on top, which is a little arrow, and then you click on the 12. Make sure you click directly on the black bits of the 12, otherwise it won't select it. And the middle one, just move it back a tiny bit. The middle one moves, you click on that and then drag it to wherever you want. If you want to increase the size, you just drag out. So if you hold down the shift key, it'll let you drag out in proportion, which means it won't stretch it or shrink it. It won't stretch it. It'll just do it so it's evenly enlarged or reduced. Okay. Then you can move into position. Now, the problem I've got at the moment is because Gridlock's on, it's wanting to jump to the dots. So in order to stop it from jumping to the dots, you have to turn Gridlock off. So you'll see in a second I click on Gridlock and it will then it will stop it from jumping to dots and I can move it to wherever I want. Okay, so that's central now. Now, what I'm going to do at the minute is, you'll see if I go back, the number is filled in. Now that basically means when it goes to the laser cutter, it would burn all the black out. Now that's a problem because one, it takes ages, and two, you're just wasting energy and electricity, and it would, if you want it to cut all the way through, it would just take a long time. Now if you no fill it, it will just cut out the outline. So you'll see in a second when I click on fill, which is up at the top, just there, and then I click on no fill and OK, it will no fill the shape. There you go. Now, if I want to engrave, which means just burn the surface of the material I'm cutting the clock out of, I'm going to change it to red. Some people have red as cut and black as engraved. It doesn't really matter particularly, but in this case I've always done red as engraved. If you click on the basic custom, well, the basic color red, I've chosen that one, but it's the same as that one, and then click OK, and it will change the outline to red, and it will engrave it. If you decide that you want to cut the number all the way through, then you can keep it as black, and it would cut the number all the way through. And the other option is move the number, well, copy the number, move it outside of the circle, and it will engrave the 12 into the clock face. But then you can also cut out the numbers separately and then stick them on afterwards, so they look like they're sticking out from the page. So you could put the 12 outside and just change that to black, so it cuts the number out separately. You can do a few different versions. Now, the other thing to do here is I copied the 12 by the bottom double 2 squares, and then I'm going to use that to make the 6. And what you'll see is, if I go back a little bit, I go over to the bottom right hand corner where it says properties, and then it brings up the text box again, and then you can change that to a 6. So it means that all your numbers are the same font and the same size. And again, just move that into position. Okay, now copy it again, move across up to the top, and repeat. So you've got your 12, your 6, and your 9 perfectly located, so it looks professional. Okay. Change that to a 9. And again, if you wanted to separately and stick it on top, you can do. Now, at this stage, I need to choose a font. Sorry, I need to choose an image that I want to engrave or do anything to make my design look more individual. So I've chosen to go for a mini car theme. So you'll see, I'm typing in to try and get like an image that represents the mini car theme, Mini Cooper theme. Now, I want a simple Mini Cooper image, so you can see they're quite complicated. So if I type in something like outline or silhouette or cartoon, it will give me a much easier to work with image. Okay. So I can have a look through, and if any of these images don't work, try cartoon or silhouette. Now, what you'll notice is I didn't take the image directly from the I didn't take it directly from here, because when you do it as a thumbnail, it's not got very many pixels, which means it won't be a very clear image. It'll be made up of very few pixels. You have to click on the image to get the more high definition version. Pixels are just the little tiny dots that make up an image. If you click on the image, you'll get a much more detailed version of the image. Now, I've gone on Pinterest. Hopefully it'll let me find the original image. Sometimes you just got to play around, and sometimes the images don't work as well. It's easier also if the image has got a white background, and there's a little X, get rid of that on the top right hand corner. So it seems you don't have to sign into it, you can just use it freely. So when it comes up with that, you'll notice a little X in the top right. It's not working very well, that one, so I'm just looking around for an image that will work, that I think I'll be able to use for my design. Okay, this one might work better. So I'm struggling to get the image from Pinterest there, and that looks like a better image. I can copy that one across. That one's made up of more pixels. Now, it's quite a good image, this one, because I can also use the text from it. If I want to use the text, it might look quite effective. Now, I'm going to rewind it a little bit, because I've gone a little bit fast there. You'll notice that when I was on there, I copied and pasted it in, and now I need to then convert the image. At the moment, this image is called a a bitmap image, which means it's made up of little dots of color, little squares of color. I need to convert it into a vector image, which is made up of coordinates like numbers and dimensions and different things like that. So in order to convert it so the laser cutter understands it, then I need to click on bitmaps up at the top and vectorize the bitmap. Okay, and basically what the laser cutter does is it reads the coordinates. So it will say the first place I'm going to engrave or cut is 2 down, 2 across. The next place is 3 down, 3 across. But the laser cutter doesn't understand bitmaps; it can't figure them out. So you need to always convert the image into a vector image. You can see, you click on the image and it brings up all the colors that the image is made up of. Now I simplify the image by clicking on monochrome up at the top, which just makes it black and white. And then I want to engrave this image at the minute, so I'm going to choose the color and change it to red, because red is engraved for me. I'm going to move the luminancy bar up and down, up or down, to whatever I think gives the best detail. Okay, so you've got to figure out which image you think is the best for yours to show the most amount of detail, and then click OK and OK again. And then at this stage, again, I'm going to no fillet. I don't want all the outline. It'll take forever to engrave it, and I'm going to be painting it anyway, so there's no point in it doing a deeper engraving. I'm happy with it just doing the outline. Now, I want to separate out the wording from the car bit. Now to do that, at the moment it won't, because it's like grouped together, so you can't do that. So in order to ungroup it, in this program they call it explode. So you can see there's like a little arrow with a red arrow with a red cross at the top, which you can click on, and then it will allow you to explode the image. Now there's 2 options. There's one level only, which will just separate the main part separately out, or fully to simple objects, which will separate every little curve and line in a little tiny little bit. And sometimes the fully to simple objects can be a bit of a nightmare, so you want to just kind of simply one level only for now, and then later on if you want to fully explode it, so you can do to get more detail. But one level only and continue. And now hopefully when I select little bits I don't want, I can just click on select see I selected that little tiny bit of detail I didn't want, that little bit there, and it separated that out. So if you select it with the arrow tool, click on it, and then just press delete on the keyboard, you find it at the top. It's not the backspace one, it's the delete tool. Okay, click on that and press delete. Now the other trick is if you want to keep certain bits together, you'll notice that I draw a rectangle around any sections that I want to keep together. So in a second, I draw a rectangle and it selects all the sections together. So then move that to wherever you want to move it to. Hold down the Shift key to enlarge it in proportion, and then move it to wherever you want. So I don't want that bit, I just want mini. And next thing is I'm going to now explode this bit again, and you'll see why in a second. So if I select around the whole image, oh no, sorry. You need to first up, I want to cut out the shape of the mini, but I want it to engrave the bits of detail in the center. So what I'm doing now is I've clicked on I've exploded it again, so it'll allow me to separate out the outline. I'm going to change the outline to black, so I clicked on line col, so it's this little col one up at the top, and it'll then let me just select and change the color of the outline to black. Now, again, select around the whole thing by drawing a little box or a rectangle, and then move it at the top. I'm just going to select the whole thing and move it down so it fits on the page. What I'm going to do is I'm going to get it to cut out around the outside of the mini so it's sticking on top of the clock. At the moment though, I've got an issue because anything black will cut, so it'll cut all these little bits out and it'll just have loads of little sections. So I've got to delete certain bits to put them together. Move it across so it's more central first. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on del any, and you'll see if I click and hold on del any, then a bar will come out. I'm deleting those bits first, sorry, the lines. Let's see what I'm doing next. And then del any, and you'll see the second one along there is delete intersection parts. So two parts that are lines that are overlapping, you'll delete the bit in the middle. Okay, and then there, and there, and that is pretty much done on the drawing. Okay, so that's ready to send to the laser cutter. But before I do that, I'm going to save it to wherever is appropriate for you. See, I'm saving to the shared area. Mr. Smith Collaborative, it was 2019. And then I'm creating a new folder for my class, so term 2, whatever it is, I'll save it as. Okay, and then just save it as your name,